Because most of your part files will begin with a sketched feature, creating stable sketches is a foundational skill in Autodesk Inventor. These videos will demonstrate the guiding principles for the creation of sketches. We will begin with a look at choosing the sketch plane and using the Create tools. The next video will examine the constraints available to us in Inventor. Following that, there will be a video showing how to use the Dimension tool as well as some tips and tricks used by professionals. Welcome back to Practical AutoCAD and Inventor, your source for practical solutions to your problems with AutoCAD and Autodesk Inventor. If you like these videos, please like and subscribe so you will be notified whenever new videos are published. Also, if you have any questions you would like me to answer, please leave a comment below. Now, on with the video. Before you start to sketch, think about which plane you want to start on. Each of the origin planes correspond to one of the three principal views of an orthographic drawing. If I move my mouse over to the origin plane in the history browser and expand it, you'll see that there are several pieces of origin geometry. The YZ plane, the XZ plane, the XY plane, X-axis, Y-axis, Z-axis, and the center point. When it's time to create a sketch, you're going to go up to the Start 2D Sketch tool and click, and it shows you each of these start planes. Again, hovering over them here, you have the XY plane, which represents a front view of an object. You have the YZ plane, which represents the side view of an object, and you have the XZ plane, which represents the top view of the project. Which one of these planes you choose is determined by the front view that you want to have of your object if you're going to make a drawing of it. For example, if I have this simple tab right here, you'll see that I've got a front view here, a top view here, and my isometric view here. Given that the isometric view, and this surface in the isometric view is the front view, I'm going to start my drawing on this front plane. So all I have to do is go to the edge of that front plane and click my mouse, and it will start a new sketch on the front plane. Once the sketch is started, you will see that there is an X-axis, a Y-axis, and a center point. The Z-axis is there, but it's coming straight out of the screen and you can't see it. If you don't remember which is X and Y, you can look down here at the user coordinate system icon in the lower left-hand corner of the screen. Additionally, you can look at the view cube in the top right corner of the screen. By clicking on the view cube, you can change your view. I click on that top corner and you'll see that again I have that isometric view, my front, my top, my side. If I want to go back to that front view, I can simply click on that front image right there and it will return me back to this view. Now if I want to draw this, the first thing I'm going to do is use some of my Create tools. And for the most part, I can create this front view with just one tool, the line tool. But for the sake of this video, I'm going to show you some of the other tools as well. So your Create tools are on the Sketch tab on the Create panel. The one that you'll probably use most often is Line, but there's more than just a line here. If you click on the flyout just below the Line tool, you'll see that there's Line and then several different types of spline. Likewise, if you need to draw a circle, you can click on the flyout and you'll see there's a couple different ways to draw a circle and then also an ellipse tool. If you want to draw an arc, there are a couple different ways of drawing arcs. The rectangle tool has lots of tools nested with it. Of course, you have a rectangle and a 3-point rectangle and the 2-point rectangle with the center and so on, but you also have a slot and an arced slot, and even a polygon. Some other tools that are on the Create tab, or the Create panel, include Fillet and Chamfer, Text, and Point, which may be used in the future to locate centers of circles or holes and that sort of thing. I do not like to put fillets and chamfers as a general rule into a sketch. If a part that I'm designing has fillets and chamfers, generally I leave those out of the base sketch, and I'll put them in as placed objects later. So that'll come up in a later video. Now, let's look at how some of these tools work. If I come into the line command, I can click my mouse anywhere I want, and I can start to draw. You'll notice that as I'm drawing, it's giving me a readout of a distance and a direction. At this point, you can draw your lines, and you can either enter in a dimension, or you can leave it blank. As a general rule, I like to draw and just keep things approximately the right size and shape, get my sketch about the way I want it, and then come back in later and add dimensions. So we'll show this method. As I'm drawing, I can also come in and I can draw arcs. So if you think back to this part here, if I want to draw the lower left corner, starting right here, I'm going to draw a line that's approximately 2.5 inches long, and then I want to draw an arc. One nice thing about the line command is it allows me to draw an arc as well. So if I come in here and I say I want a line, I'm going to start about here. I'm going to draw my line approximately the right length and distance, so about 2.5 inches. Click, and you'll know that it draws that first line. It also applies a constraint. There'll be more about constraints in the next video. And it wants to draw another line. But from here, I want to draw an arc. So if I move back to the endpoint of the line, click and hold the left mouse button, and then drag it out, you'll notice that it gives me the option of drawing an arc. The arc will be tangent to the line if I drag out along that first axis, like this. So notice that it's creating it. It's also applying a tangent constraint down at the bottom. And I can use those guidelines at the end to also line up the top of my arc. And then I can come back in, and as I draw the rest of my part, notice that it is applying a tangent constraint at the top. And then I could come back down and close this profile. So there's my closed profile. It's approximately the right size and shape, and it has all of my geometry in there that I would need for the first view of this part, including all of my constraints. Now I'm going to undo this so I can show other ways of using this tool. Coming into line, draw that first line segment again. From here, if I want to draw an arc, but maybe I want it to look a different way, I go to the endpoint, click and drag off, but notice that I can make the arc go that direction. So the line or the direction that you draw your arc does not have to be necessarily in the direction that you want, or that's going to be tangent to the line, but it could also be perpendicular to the line. Now, if you want to use the arc command, let's say that I'm going to draw this same part. Again, I'll draw it approximately the right size and shape. If I wanted to use the arc command instead of the line command, I can go to arc, and there are a few different ways of creating an arc. The 3-point arc wants you to first pick one endpoint of the arc, and then the second endpoint of the arc, and then you pick the radius of the arc, or the third point. So by doing it this method, I can draw the arc and get both of those tangent constraints at the same time. This is also an acceptable way of using the tool. Now, once I have this in place, I'm ready to go in and add some constraints and then some dimensions so that I'll end up with my final project. That information is going to come up in further videos, so be sure to tune in and watch the next video.